Imagine watching a forgotten corner of medicine, one so stagnant that investors never even bothered modeling it, suddenly erupt into one of the most violent re-ratings in the biotech sector. It is the kind of jolt that forces analysts to rewrite assumptions in real time. And before we dive deeper, if you are watching this through Shorts, you can tap the full version link below to hear the complete analysis without interruption. Also, a fully updated trading strategy reflecting the current setup is included later in the story, so make sure you stay with me until the end. The shock came from Insmed, a company that took non-cystic fibrosis bronchiectasis, a disease with literally zero approved treatments through all modern medical history, and turned it into a center of global attention almost overnight. That kind of narrative inversion is rare. It violates how respiratory drug development usually works. Typically, when a disease has no approved mechanism-based therapies, physicians fall back on symptomatic management. That means antibiotics when flare-ups occur, airway clearance devices, inhaled bronchodilators, and recurring hospital visits. That stagnant approach becomes the norm because no company sees a regulatory pathway, no agency sends a signal of opportunity, and no investor sees a monetizable market. The disease becomes clinically tolerated and commercially abandoned. That is what made Insmed's scientific choice so unconventional. Brensocatib targeted DPP1, the enzyme that activates neutrophil serine proteases. These proteases are like tiny corrosive blades that carve long-term structural damage into the lungs. Most respiratory drugs avoid this upstream intervention because it carries many risks. Companies usually go downstream and manage inflammation or infection after it happens. But upstream inhibition holds the promise of altering the disease trajectory itself. That difference between managing symptoms and altering progression eventually became the core of the Insmed narrative. When the phase 2b Willow data appeared around 2020 showing delayed time to first exacerbation and reduced flare-ups, regulators moved faster than they normally do in respiratory medicine. The FDA granted breakthrough therapy designation, and the EMA granted PRIME status. These designations are usually reserved for therapies addressing severe high unmet need conditions. For this to happen in bronchiectasis, a disease that had always been clinically sidelined, was an anomaly. And in regulatory behavior, anomalies often signal deeper recognition that a long neglected space may finally be entering a legitimate therapeutic era. The global Aspen Phase 3 program, running from 2021 through 2024, strengthened that signal. Unlike most respiratory trials that focus on symptoms or patient-reported questionnaires, Aspen